They thought she'd kneel. They thought she'd cry. They thought she'd break. Instead, she raised an army of 200,000, laid cities to ash, and almost brought the Roman Empire to its knees. This isn't the tale of a queen in velvet halls. It's the roar of a mother with nothing left to lose. A warrior who turned her grief into fire. A name the Romans wrote in fear and fury. Her name was Boudicca. This is the untold story of how she nearly broke the mightiest empire in history. Long before the legions arrived, the land we now call Britain was wild and sacred. Dense forests stretched endlessly, rivers glistened like silver veins, and the sky hung heavy with Celtic gods. The tribes of Britannia weren't unified. They were warriors, farmers, and mystics. Each tribe held its own lands, its own customs, and its own proud bloodlines. But one thing united them: a hatred for foreign chains. The Iceni were one such tribe, noble, stubborn, and rich in horses. And among them rose a queen, tall and flame-haired, educated in druidic lore, skilled in statecraft and war. Her name was Boudicca, and her destiny was forged the moment Rome crossed the sea. When Emperor Claudius invaded in 43 CE, the Roman war machine tore through Britannia like wildfire. Some tribes resisted and were crushed, others submitted, for now. The Iceni struck a deal. They'd remain independent allies, allowed to keep their king, Prasutagus, so long as they bent the knee in name. Rome called it diplomacy. The Iceni called it occupation in a golden mask. For 2 decades, the peace held, uneasy, brittle, and waiting to snap. And in 60 CE, it did. When Prasutagus died, he left a will naming Emperor Nero and his 2 daughters as co-heirs. A clever move, meant to protect his family. But Rome didn't honor cleverness, it honored power. They seized the kingdom outright, confiscated land, enslaved nobles, pillaged treasuries. But worst of all, they dragged Boudicca into the public square, stripped her, and flogged her before her people. Then, they raped her daughters. Not soldiers, tax collectors, bureaucrats, Roman peacekeepers. It wasn't just cruelty, it was domination. A warning to every Briton that Rome ruled the soul as well as the sword. But Rome had miscalculated, because Boudicca didn't break. She rose. In secret groves, she met with druids, the spiritual leaders of the Celtic world. They prophesied her rise, speaking of a red-haired queen who would reclaim the land. Omens appeared, a comet in the sky, the statue of victory at Camulodunum, falling face first, and the sea turning the color of blood. Boudicca began to call the tribes, Trinovantes, Catovelauni, and Dobunni, sworn enemies, now allies in vengeance. Warriors gathered by the thousands. Blacksmiths forged spears. Wives sharpened blades. Elders whispered of liberty. She didn't ask for power. She demanded justice. And the people followed, not because she ruled, but because she embodied their rage. The first Roman target was Camulodunum, a colony built atop sacred Iceni land. Its temples towered in arrogance, its villas overflowed with stolen gold. And its people? They mocked the Britons, calling them savages, until the savages returned, with fire. The city's defenders were mostly retired soldiers and merchants. They begged for help from the Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, but he was too far off attacking druids in Anglesey. When Boudicca's army descended, they faced no true resistance. The temple to Claudius was besieged for 2 days, then burned with every soul inside. Survivors were hunted down in the streets, hung from trees, dismembered. Rome would call it barbarism. The Britons called it justice. Next came Londinium, a new Roman city, still growing, wealthy, and undefended. Suetonius returned with his legions but deemed the city indefensible. He ordered an evacuation, but not everyone could leave. Thousands stayed behind, Traders, families, Romanized Britons, trusting in Roman law to protect them. But Boudicca made no distinction. If you bear Rome's eagle, you bear its crimes. Her army descended like a storm. Buildings collapsed in flames. The screams of the dying echoed through the ruins. Even now, beneath modern London, archaeologists find a layer of charred debris, Boudicca's fire line. The final city was Verulamium, now Saint Albans. Its fate was no different. Temples smashed, statues beheaded, slaves freed, collaborators crucified. By now, Boudicca's legend was spreading as fast as her flames. She had become a myth in real time, a red-haired fury, chariot-bound, eyes like burning coals. But for all her fury, the tide was shifting. Suetonius gathered what forces he could, just 10,000 soldiers against over 200,000. He chose his ground, a narrow valley with woods behind and high ground ahead. Boudicca's army, overconfident from victory, charged in. The Romans held. Their lines were perfect. Spears flew like lightning. Then they advanced in tight formation, driving into the disorganized horde. The Britons were trapped, pinned between Roman steel and their own wagons. It became a slaughter. Boudicca watched as her people fell, daughters, elders, children crushed under chariot wheels. She retreated, wounded not in body, but in soul. No one knows exactly how Boudicca died. Some say she took poison, proud to the end. Others believe she faded into the wilds, her grave lost beneath the soil she fought to free. But she never surrendered. To the Romans, she was a footnote of fury. To the Britons, she became a legend. Centuries later, the Victorians raised statues to her. Poets sang of her glory. She was reborn as a national symbol of resistance, of feminine strength, of rebellion against tyranny. But Boudicca was no sanitized saint. She was war in human form. She burned cities, yes, but she also burned fear into the heart of an empire. Her story is written not in scrolls, but in ash. She may not have won, but she changed the way Rome was ruled. No longer would they trust client kings so blindly. No longer would they underestimate the rage of the oppressed. If this story struck a chord, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. Was Boudicca a hero, a symbol, or a force of nature?